Thanks everyone for joining us, and happy Earth Day. I'm Jordan Rutter, Director of Communications for American Bird Conservancy and your host today. This webinar is being recorded and will be shared with you afterward. We'll be putting links in the chat, but in case you missed them, please know that we'll be sending an email to everyone who registered, and it will contain all the links referenced today, as well as a link to the recording. Automated captions are available for this webinar, and you can turn them on by clicking on the CC icon. Please submit any questions you have during the presentations using the Q&A box. Birds inspire and delight us, and they fill us with wonder. They do so much, from pollination to pest control. But birds are in trouble, and they're disappearing fast. Thanks to generous support from people like you, American Bird Conservancy works with diverse partners throughout the Western Hemisphere to prevent imminent bird extinctions, improve millions of acres of habitat with bird-friendly management practices, and advocate for and create innovative solutions to urgent threats that put birds at risk. And together, we're achieving results. Over the past 30 years, ABC has conserved habitat for 3,000 bird species, totaling millions of acres across the Americas. But the challenges facing birds are more urgent than ever, and that's why American Bird Conservancy is taking bold action for birds in 2025, and we need your help to do it. I'm so glad you're joining us today for Earth Day. Earth Day is dedicated to honoring and conserving our planet's biodiversity and serves as an important reminder that birds need healthy habitats to survive. Here at ABC, we want to celebrate Earth Day by planting trees for birds in your honor. So for every $20 you give today in support of ABC's mission, we'll plant a tree in bird habitat in your name or in honor of someone special to you. That means we'll plant 2 trees for a $40 gift or 4 trees for a gift of $80. Give $100 or more right now, and your gift will go even further by helping to conserve an acre of bird habitat. And thanks to a match from a generous ABC supporter, all gifts made in honor of Earth Day will be matched dollar for dollar, up to $100,000. Your gift will make it possible for ABC to conserve bird habitat as well as prevent extinctions, reverse population declines, reduce threats for birds, and build an inclusive and equitable future for bird conservation. Together, we can do even more to save wild birds and the habitats they need to thrive. Will you make an Earth Day gift now so that it can be matched and make an even bigger difference for wild birds across the Americas? Please visit abcbirds.org/give or scan the code you see on the screen with your phone now. Thank you for being here to learn how to help birds across the Americas thrive, and special thanks to all the ABC members and supporters in the audience today. You're helping to make Earth Day every day for birds throughout the Western Hemisphere. Thank you so much. Bold for birds. Bold for birds. Bold for birds. Well, I am so proud of that tagline and for the opportunity to talk to you today about how you can take bold action for birds. I'll admit that I don't necessarily view myself as a bold person, but I definitely can embrace being bold for birds because it's been my unwavering passion from a very young age. Once birds landed in my life and honestly on my soul, it was an immediate and deep-rooted fascination that has shaped my entire life in countless ways. As a young birder, that meant I was spending my recess time observing birds instead of playing tag and in academics. Once I had decided that birds were where I wanted to do with my life, even before I was sure what that meant, it was that strong determination that propelled me through school and to eventually earning my degree. And when it actually came time to really decide what I wanted to do with my life, it was my passion for birds and my commitment to helping people better understand them and how to help them that led me to American Bird Conservancy. I was witnessing my experiences with birds change before my very eyes, from my childhood through my early adulthood. I knew birds were really in trouble, and that's why I wanted to do everything in my power to conserve them. I didn't want to wait. In fact, I knew I couldn't wait. And I didn't want anyone to think that they could wait either. I wanted to take action and contribute to getting results today. And I knew that I could help people who loved birds understand that they could too, and help them do it. And here I am today, so honored to be getting the chance to do just that with all of you. So maybe I am bold for birds, and I just haven't given myself enough credit for that. And I bet you haven't either, because being bold for birds can take so many forms. Maybe you're bold by not raking your leaves in the fall, no matter what your neighbors think. Maybe you're bold by telling your legislators to support bird-friendly policies in every level of government, every single chance you get. Maybe you're bold when taking a few extra minutes to ask your grocery store to stock bird-friendly coffee. Maybe you're bold by having uncomfortable but necessary conversations about how critical it is for both birds and cats to keep cats safely contained. And maybe you're bold by simply talking about how amazing birds are to friends, family, colleagues, or a stranger who spots a beautiful cardinal along with you on the street corner and letting them know that birds need our help more than ever. So yes, I am bold for birds, and I think you all are too. But if you're still not convinced, or maybe need some additional ways to take bold action on their behalf, this webinar is for you. You're going to learn about how American Bird Conservancy is embracing being bold and putting that into action right now, today, across the Western Hemisphere for the birds that mean so much to each of us and getting results, and how you can too. So let's go be bold for birds together, joined by today's fantastic presenters. Let's meet them. We're joined today by Brian Brooks, who is ABC's Vice President of Advocacy and Threats Programs. He comes to ABC after serving 9 years as the Executive Director of the Idaho Wildlife Federation. He holds a Master's of Science in Natural Resource Management from the University of Idaho, where his research blended the relationship of natural resource sciences, policy, and human dimensions. And he has used this interdisciplinary approach in his career spanning habitat restoration and wildlife rehabilitation, eventually growing into the advocacy and policy arena. As a leader of multiple nonprofits, Brian learned the science and art of fundraising, managing teams, building coalitions, and vertically integrating grassroots advocacy into conservation programs. We're also joined by Andrés Anchondo, who is ABC's Director of Migratory Bird Habitats in Latin America and the Caribbean. He works with ABC's team managing projects in 13 countries in the region. Before joining ABC, he worked with the Natural Resources Defense Council and the World Resources Institute in Washington, D.C. Andrés has a master's degree in agroforestry, a master's in business, and a bachelor's degree in finance, and he is originally from Chihuahua, Mexico. Last but not least, Amy Upgren is the Director of International Programs at American Bird Conservancy. She has been at ABC since 2016 and worked in international conservation focused on Latin America and the Caribbean for over 15 years. At ABC, she leads our Latin American Reserve Stewardship Initiative, known as LARCI, and coordinates the Alliance for Zero Extinction and has managed bird conservation projects in multiple countries, including Brazil, Peru, Nicaragua, Jamaica, Chile, and Mexico. And before joining ABC, Amy worked with Conservation International and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. First up, we're going to have Brian kick things off. Welcome, Brian.
Hello, thank you.
You're all set up. Take it away.
All righty. Thanks again, Jordan, and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in, and happy Earth Day. As Jordan mentioned, I'm Brian Brooks, ABC's Vice President of Advocacy and Threats Programs. Today, I'm going to talk about the value of advocacy generally, its impact on birds, and how ABC utilizes advocacy, some examples of our bold work, and its impacts. Birds are everywhere. They fill our mornings with song, they migrate across continents, and they're key indicators of the health of our planet, but they are in trouble. According to a study pioneered by ABC, nearly 3 billion birds have been lost in North America alone since 1970, but it doesn't have to continue this way. ABC engages on so many issues impacting birds, from innovative on-the-ground solutions to finding the science that drives them. But our work also includes a robust advocacy program where we boldly strategize and speak up to change policy that reverses bird declines. So why does advocacy matter? Conservation science is powerful. It tells us what needs to be done, but science alone doesn't change the world. People do. That's where advocacy comes in, where you can be bold for birds. ABC's advocacy leverages our collective voices to influence policies that benefit birds, protecting and conserving habitats, and raising awareness on issues. You can be an advocate simply by writing a letter to city council, a county commissioner, or a state representative or senator. It's showing up to a local hearing. It's even just talking about birds on social media. You are probably already an advocate if you didn't consider yourself one. It's powerful because it puts everyday people, you and me, on the front lines of change. You don't have to be a scientist. You don't need a degree. You don't need to work for ABC. You just need to care and to speak up. When we advocate for birds, we're also advocating for clean air and water, safer food free from toxins, safe migration routes, thriving forests, wetlands, and grasslands, resilient economies, a more just and diverse world, and much more. It's not just a voice for birds, but entire ecosystems and human communities. And the best part about advocacy, it's free and it's accessible to everybody. You don't need money to sign a petition. You don't need a car to send an email. You don't need experience to share a post online that educates others. In a world where so much feels out of reach, advocacy is something everyone can do at any time of a day, all year. So, how to start today? If you're wondering how to become a fully fledged bird champion, being here is a great start. And it sounds like many of you are already, which is fantastic. So here are a few easy ways if you're unaware after this webinar. You can sign up for alerts through ABC. We make it easy by bringing you the issues birds and you care about and giving you an opportunity to make a difference. Our experts determine the best political strategy, so all you need to do is follow the links. You can contact your representatives about things you care about. You can use your platforms, social media, blogs, conversations to educate others, join local bird walks or community science projects, and support ABC. Our advocacy work is entirely funded by contributions from people like you, and we put it to really good work. And of course, spread the word. Tell a friend about all of these opportunities if you can. So you may be wondering, if my voice is so important, what's ABC's role in all of this? We play an outsized role in the bird conservation community in the United States and across the Americas. We leverage your voice, that groundswell of grassroots support, and couple it with science and strategy to influence public policies, legislation, and land management decisions to conserve birds and their habitats. How do we do that? First, science is always our guiding light. The research tells us what needs to be done to help certain species in certain geographies. We then turn that science into a policy solution, and we have to decide where we can enact such a policy and at what scale, and then develop a strategy to pass it. These can be city ordinances, county resolutions, state or federal laws, or even decisions by public land management agencies. We then develop a fully fledged campaign to get the issue passed. We develop a political strategy, educating decision makers on the science, finding bill sponsors, bringing in partners and other interests to bolster our support, addressing opposition, and so on. We then get a grassroots strategy where you all come in by contacting decision makers, meeting with them in district or in DC or whatever other jurisdiction they belong to. But generally, it's raising a cacophony of social support for the issue. And if we do our jobs well and can deliver your voices effectively, we can make important changes. That's why it's important to remember that every time you see an opportunity to take action by ABC, there's a reason and a targeted strategy behind it. Often a team of people working behind the scenes already, sometimes years prior, building up to that moment. So it's always impactful to engage when you see an opportunity and when we're asking for that help. And then, of course, there are defensive positions we cannot plan for when bad legislation or other actions are proposed that we need to defeat, in which we've created a similar strategy, but now we need your voice in opposition. And sometimes when these bad ideas pop their heads up, the best thing, sometimes the only thing we can do is enter into litigation to stop them. It's not a preferred route, but sometimes the courts are necessary to stop illegal actions that would harm birds. So that's sort of the 30,000-foot advocacy 101 overview of the value and the how of this work and how ABC sets the table and partners with people like you to advance wins for birds. Now we'll dive into some examples of the breadth of ABC's advocacy work and what it can do. But before we dive in, I want to plant a seed. It's really just something for you to think about while we're looking at the cool work ABC's advocacy team does. The boldest thing about ABC's policy work is its breadth and its scalability, how big of an impact it can have for birds. Our work can get entire cities to adopt bird-friendly glass ordinances. We can reduce harmful pesticide use across entire states. We're working to change fishery management across multiple states. We can protect millions of acres from harmful development. And with a small investment in the policy team at ABC, we can secure hundreds of millions of dollars in public funding for habitat recovery across the Americas. First up, ABC works to secure legal protections for critical habitats, but also for policy that requires active management to improve conditions on the ground. Examples can include congressionally designated wilderness areas, national monuments, or other designations that elevate the importance of wild land characteristics. These are mainly for public land areas. We can protect sensitive habitats and landscapes like the Alaskan seashores or critical islands and atolls from irresponsible development, influencing the management prescriptions beneficial for birds and habitats found on public lands like national forests, grasslands, and rangelands. In fact, right now, ABC is boldly standing up for old-growth forests in the Pacific Northwest to protect marbled murrelet and spotted owl, while in northern hardwood forests, conversely, ABC is working on a hands-on management approach for Kirtland's warbler, which requires early successional habitat for breeding. So different prescriptions benefit different birds, and we're involved in all of it. We're working in state legislatures on bills that will ban certain plastics that find their way into water supplies and into birds. There are also numerous federal bills we work on that directly address habitat restoration, like the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, which is up for reauthorization this year, which puts millions of dollars on the ground in habitat recovery on public and private lands. And of course, there is so much more to talk about. A primary directive of ABC's advocacy is utilizing public funding to benefit birds. And there are several ways in which we can engage on this. And this is not an exhaustive list, of course. The federal appropriations process is an annual opportunity to ensure there is robust funding for federal agencies that do good habitat work. Think Forest Service, Fish and Wildlife Service, NOAA, BLM. Annual appropriations also fund programs that help species in critical need, like ABC's Hawaiian Birds programs. ABC has been the leader in ensuring funds are secured and sent to Hawaii for projects that are directly responsible for helping some of the most vulnerable bird species on the planet. There are many spending authorities we work on, like the Neotropical Migratory Bird Conservation Act, which ABC successfully lobbied for its passage, which funds habitat work for birds here at home, but also in the habitats they call home in other countries throughout their annual migration. Every few years, the Farm Bill comes up for reauthorization, which is the largest investment in conservation funding in the world. It offers significant opportunity to improve the health and biodiversity of our private land and agricultural lands for the benefit of birds. ABC is on the front lines for Farm Bill funding for birds. In fact, millions of these dollars from these programs are actually used by ABC, put on the ground by our staff to actively restore habitat for birds. So not only are we advocating for it, we're actually utilizing those funds to put it on the ground as well. So those are all federal processes, but ABC also has a robust program working in state legislatures on a variety of issues. When it comes to conservation funding, we're engaged on several state bills at the moment that will impact funding that provides a state source for conservation funding, most notably Oregon at the moment. And of course, there are several state bills that are trying to take away certain funding opportunities that we're fighting against. ABC's advocacy also focuses on the biggest threats all birds face. We work to address invasive species removal or protecting sensitive areas from non-native predators. One example is the advocacy to create funding and actually building predator fences with local authorities on the Hawaiian Islands to protect nesting seabirds. We've got a robust program where we are working in state legislatures to ban the worst pesticides from use. Last year, for instance, we successfully banned the use of very deadly neonicotinoid-coated seeds from the state of Vermont. many acres that no more neonicotinoid seeds will be planted. More ABC bills like this are coming in for different states. We are working with Atlantic Coast Fisheries Commissions and states to prevent the overharvest of forage fish like menhaden, which osprey rely on, or to better manage the harvest of horseshoe crabs, whose eggs are a vital source of sustenance for shorebirds like red knot. We're actively working with the deadliest cities for bird collisions to pass ordinances mandating the use of bird-safe glass, which will save tens of millions of birds. As an example, we were able to get the New York City to pass an ordinance for all glass retrofits have to have an ABC threat factor rating of a certain amount so that we're protecting birds that fly through those areas. Our collisions team also teaches architects bird-safe building techniques and tests glass for manufacturers that provides them with the rating for bird safety. We work to prevent energy proliferation in sensitive habitats or find alternative siting for needed human infrastructure. And of course, we're working very hard to oppose and defeat efforts to dismantle our nation's bedrock environmental laws. The advocacy work to address threats by ABC is broad, it's bold, and it's morally imperative. And no other organization is doing it like ABC. And really quick, a few timely actions you can take to make a difference today. These will be posted in the chat, I believe. You can ask your congressperson to oppose a bill that would delist the lesser prairie chicken from the endangered species list. You can ask your congressperson to fully fund conservation programs in 2026 and ask your congressperson to support the Federal Bird Safe Buildings Act. You can stay tuned to ABC to learn about more ways to take action. There are always more opportunities around the corner. There is so much more we work on than we have time to discuss. Bird conservation advocacy is worth it. We have power, and our voices used well can ripple outwards and mobilize others. So it starts with you. And that's where I'll leave it for today. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much, Brian. That was great, and we'll talk to you more during the Q&A portion at the end of the webinar. Just so everyone knows, we are recording this. We'll make sure that you get a copy of that recording. We're also going to send all the links to all the resources. We really want to have you enabled to learn more about these topics, take action, join us in being bold for birds, and then share them with a friend. So again, if you aren't able to write the links down or anything, you'll get those in your inbox in the coming days for sure. But next up is Andrés Anchondo, who's going to virtually take us a little further south than you might be right now to the Latin American and Caribbean region of the Americas. Andrés.
Hi, Jordan. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm really excited to be able to share the work that we do in Latin America and the Caribbean. And first of all, happy Earth Day. And I'm excited because I'm going to present to you one of the newest programs at ABC. This program we call BirdsPlus is part of our Migratory Bird Habitats in Latin America and the Caribbean program. And we do a lot of different things. So I'm just going to give you, I'm going to share a few examples of the work that we do, the exciting work that we do with our partners to conserve migratory birds in their wintering grounds. And I want to start saying that bird migration is amazing. More than half of the over 650 breeding bird species we have in North America are migratory. Billions of individual birds migrate south after the summer breeding season, which means that they spend at least half of the year south of the border that we have. The majority of land birds migrate at night, which offers advantages such as cooler air temperatures, fewer predators, and better flying conditions for those tiny birds that we all love, our migratory birds. Unfortunately, migratory birds, as Brian mentioned, face numerous threats throughout their annual life cycle, including habitat loss and degradation at the breeding, wintering, and stopover sites that they have. They also face collisions with human-made structures, predation by cats, pesticide use, just to name a few. And what's ABC's actions to conserve migratory birds? Well, we work at the scale needed. We work with our initiative called Birdscapes. This is working at the large scale in working landscapes. So we have identified over 100 birdscapes in the Americas. Currently in Latin America and the Caribbean, we work in 13 countries. I'm going to tell you more about what we do, but in a nutshell, we promote and facilitate bird-friendly farming and ranching practices. We are convinced that implementing those bird-friendly practices, we can achieve um, win-win solutions for birds and people who use those working landscapes. So you're probably wondering what what do those practices look like? So we have developed a series of infographics, video clips, and materials to communicate the best science for farming that it's bird friendly. So we have developed those infographics in really accessible language for farmers and ranchers in Latin America and the Caribbean. We have developed those recommendations. Some of them include promoting shade trees intermixed with crops. We can see some examples here from a cacao plantation in Guatemala where you can see the shade trees. We have another picture from an indigenous farmer in Ecuador. You can also see their cacao plantation with shade trees. We also promote organic farming because we know that what is good for people is also good for birds. Organic farming allows us to conserve the different wildlife in the farms. That includes insects, which is one of the foods that birds have. Here we see a compost being done with the pods from the cacao fruits. This is a picture from Guatemala. And then we have some organic fertilizer um, from one of our projects in Ecuador, also with cacao farmers. For cattle ranching in the tropics, what we promote is living fences. We know that living fences, by planting native trees, we can connect the different forest patches that we find in the landscape. So we promote this practice, and it offers different benefits, not just for birds, but also for cattle, because we know that shade makes cattle more productive. They produce more milk, they gain weight faster. So that's another practice that we promote. Then something else that we promote is we help our partners and our projects connect with markets. And I'm going to tell you more about it in the next slide. But here are two examples. One from our project with coffee farmers in Venezuela, where they produce organic and bird-friendly certified coffee. We also work in the Dominican Republic with coffee and cacao farmers. And the farmers in the Dominican Republic that we support were certified bird friendly just 2 years ago. That's the very first bird friendly cacao that exists in the world, certified by the Smithsonian. And then you're probably wondering, okay, how do we at ABC connect projects to buyers? How do we connect projects to investors and funding? Well, at ABC, we want to unlock the power of private capital for birds, communities, and investors. So ABC's work around investments has three components, just to summarize the work that we do. First is ABC's BirdsPlus revolving fund, which provides catalytic capital to bird-friendly businesses in Latin America and the Caribbean. It allows our donors to compound the impact of their dollars as investments in our projects are returned and reinvested in more conservation. If you're interested in learning more about our BirdsPlus revolving fund, I would love to hear from you. Then we use our extensive network of projects, partners, and donors to connect projects that we support with potential investors who are interested in bird-friendly projects. I'm going to give you an example in the next few slides. Then lastly, we at ABC recognize the vital role that all the corporations play in addressing nature loss and improving conservation outcomes. That's why we are proud to partner with companies committed to sustainability and companies that are interested in bird-friendly practices. Here I have an example for you in one of our birdscapes. This one is in Costa Rica, in the Caribbean lowlands birdscape. Here we work with a company called Hevea Costa Rica. And this is a company that restores cattle pastures with rubber plantations. And by partnering with ABC, they have been able to improve the way they grow rubber trees. They have made a commitment to intermix rubber trees with native tree species. Here on the left, we can see a cattle pasture, and then we see a forest on the right of the road. Here in the picture on the right, we see a rubber plantation which is roughly 5 years old. And by planting those rubber trees intermixed with native trees, what we are doing is increasing the forest availability and connectivity. Here we have another example from the same project where we have cattle pastures. Those cattle pastures are then restored with rubber trees intermixed with native trees. And then also Hevea has committed to protecting those legacy trees, those really old tall trees that we know are really important for birds because they serve as islands that connect forest patches. So once we grow the rubber trees, once we grow the native trees, we end up with a mature rubber plantation that looks something like the image on the right. And ABC supported research in 2016 that told us that a mature rubber plantation, which also should contain native trees, offer benefits similar to those offered by secondary forests. This is forest that has regrown after being deforested. So we know that this plantation that it's sometime where most of the times monocultures, mostly in Asia, can be made bird friendly. There are different things that need to be done, but it can be done for birds. So just to tell you a little bit more about what we do and how exciting the work we do with the BirdsPlus investment is, we meet with the companies, we learn about the project, we make recommendations on how to make the projects bird friendly. Then we generate information. We take the information from the company and we help them communicate the exciting and the positive impact they are having to investors. So we create 2-pagers that tell their story. We also connect the projects to companies that are interested in the impactful projects that we support. Here's an example of a letter of support that Hevea got from Michelin and their headquarters in Paris, France. This letter of support basically says that they want to see that project succeed because it's good for birds, because it has the potential to produce sustainable rubber. So Michelin has committed to buy all the rubber production from this project and also offer technical assistance, as much technical assistance as they could need to see this project succeed. As you can see, this is a long-term restoration project. It's a large scale because the goal is to restore 3,700 acres by next year. Then the long-term goal is to restore 37,000 acres. Apologies there, it's not hectares, it's acres. That's the long-term goal for the next 10 years. But this is also an investment opportunity for those impact investors interested in putting their money into sustainable bird-friendly projects. ABC is committed to see projects like this one succeed. That's why we're connecting them to investors. That's why we're connecting them to markets and buyers. And because we want to tell investors that this is a good investment. This is a good opportunity. That's why ABC is investing our own money into the projects. Just last year, we invested $100,000 into this project, and we're waiting to see the return on our investment this year. As you can see, this is just a little bit, just a little taste of what we do in Latin America and the Caribbean. We're super proud to work with more than 50 partners on the ground. We're proud to work with farmers and ranchers businessmen, businesswomen, who are committed to produce whatever they produce. It can be cacao, it can be coffee, it can be spices, rubber. They're committed to produce what they produce in a bird-friendly way. So if you're interested in learning more about the work that we do, I would be happy to chat with you about all of our projects. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for supporting ABC. And I'm here if you want to chat migratory birds.
We
So
do
thank
want
you,
to
everyone.
chat more with you, Andres, and we will at the Q&A portion after the presentations. But really, Andres, thank you so much for that. That was wonderful. And again, we're going to talk more with you. And our spring 2025 issue of American Bird Conservancy's member magazine, Bird Conservation, has a feature article all about our BirdsPlus program. But wait, there's more. The magazine, which was just fully redesigned and is full of new and expanded content, is going to be arriving in homes, in mailboxes, in just a few weeks. And I am so excited for you all to get a chance to enjoy it. It's really exciting for me and my team, and I just can't wait to get your review. But if you're not an ABC member, you can join now with a gift at our special introductory rate of just $35 or more at abcbirds.org/give. So I encourage you all because you don't want to miss our magazine. But next up, I want to encourage Amy Upgren to join us. And again, thank you so much, Andres. We also are recording this webinar and we'll be sending the link to that along with all of the articles and other resource links to registrants in the coming days. Thanks for your patience as we process and send out that email. But welcome, Amy. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Jordan. Andres gave a great talk on how ABC is being bold for migratory birds. And I'm here, I'm excited to talk with you about how ABC's international program, which focuses on resident birds in Latin America and the Caribbean, is also being bold for birds. First, though, I'd like to share with you some of our accomplishments over the years. Next slide, please. Since 1998, ABC has worked with over 60 conservation organizations in Latin America and the Caribbean to create over 130 bird reserves across 15 countries. And this effort has protected habitat for over 3,000 birds. This remarkable achievement is due to the close ties that ABC has forged with conservation organizations throughout the hemisphere, as well as to both their and our dedication to achieving conservation results for the birds of the Americas. We emphasize reserve creation because while there are many threats to birds, habitat loss remains the #1 threat. So we're really proud to have helped protect so much habitat for so many birds throughout the region. I'd like to now mention 3 different ways that ABC is being bold for birds in our international work. Thanks for forwarding the slide. And the first one is that we're being bold in our dedication to preventing extinctions. Of the 18 bird species extinctions that have been averted since 1994 in the Americas, and 1994 is when ABC was founded, ABC and our partners have significantly contributed to preventing a third of those, including that of Lear's macaw. Next slide, please. Lear's macaw live in one place in the world, the dry Caatinga or thorn scrub forest in the state of Bahia in northeastern Brazil, with our sandstone canyons and Licori palm stands. And the Lear's macaw population plummeted due to illegal bird trafficking to about 60 individuals a few decades ago, but has reversed and is now over 2,000 and increasing. So why this dramatic turnaround? Well, together with our Brazilian partners, ABC focused on reducing trafficking. We supported the creation of a reserve, the Canudos Biological Station, which provides a safe haven for Lear's macaw. We supported patrols to prevent trafficking. With our partners, we also implemented conservation actions like planting the macaw's favorite food, the Licori palm. Next slide, please. And we're continuing to work to support Lear's macaw. We're working to expand local birdwatching tourism to provide sustainable livelihoods in the communities where the Lear's macaw live, which generates incomes through conserving, not trafficking, the macaws. Next slide, please. Another way we're being bold for birds at ABC is that we're committed to conserving threatened species for as long as is needed. An example of this long-term approach can be demonstrated by our work with short-crested coquette. Like the Lear's macaw, the short-crested coquette, this beautiful hummingbird that you can see here, only lives in one place in the world. It lives in the Atoyac Mountains in the state of Guerrero, Mexico, in the southern part of the country. And in 2018, we contracted with a local university professor, Dr. Carlos Almazan, to conduct a natural history study of this little-known bird. At the time, we weren't even sure where exactly the coquette lived within the mountain range. Next slide, please. So this work led to ABC's support of a series of workshops in the communities where the coquette lives that focused on illustrating the importance of conserving this tiny hummingbird. Next step, please. And in 2023, these workshops led to four of the communities where we had workshops, voting to declare protected areas on part of their communal lands that provide habitat for the coquette. And these protected areas cover almost 22,000 acres in the Atoyac Mountains and were the first ever protected areas for this species. Next slide, please. We're continuing to act to conserve this critically endangered species. In 2024, with ABC's support, our partner wrote and published a guide to the birds of the biodiverse Atoyac Mountain Range, which you can see the cover of right here. Next slide, please. And we're currently beginning a new project that will expand the protected area network for the coquette. We'll also be sponsoring a local bird festival to increase awareness of this species, and we're supporting local young adults in learning how to monitor the coquette's population. So this now 7-year set of projects is one example of how ABC is committed to supporting threatened species for as long as it takes to get their population stable and to provide for the long-term sustainability of these threatened species. Next slide, please. So finally, I want to emphasize that we won't stop being bold for birds until all threatened birds in the Americas are effectively conserved. And that's why we're constantly beginning new projects for birds that urgently need conservation support. I'd like to share with you some new bird projects that we're starting, or even that we haven't started, but are very strongly considering right now. One is for the Goiás parakeet, which you can see here, a globally endangered species in central Brazil. Next slide, please. The saffron-called blackbird in the grasslands of Argentina, also globally endangered. Next slide, please. The Chilean wood star in the Atacama Desert in far northern Chile. Next slide, please. And the yellow-faced parrotlet in the dry Marañón Mountains of Peru. And there's actually several globally threatened species at the same site as this bird, including the critically endangered Marañón spinetail. Next slide, please. So lastly, I just wanted to add that our habitat conservation work, while super important, is just one area of our international focus. And while I don't have time to go into detail, I want to mention 3 other programs aimed at conserving birds in the Americas. The first is that ABC leads the Alliance for Zero Extinction, which is a consortium of over 125 conservation organizations from around the world dedicated to preventing species extinctions. Next slide, please. ABC also works to rediscover what we call lost birds through our search for lost birds. So lost birds are those that have not been documented in the past 10 years. And in 2024 alone, 8 lost birds were found. So we're really proud of this initiative, which we lead along with Rewild and BirdLife International. Next slide. And finally, ABC is part of the Conserva Aves initiative, which promotes the creation and management and strengthening of 100 local protected areas, so subnational protected areas throughout Latin America. Next slide. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to stop there. I know that we're going to have some time for questions, and I really appreciate your time today.
Yes, thank you so much, Amy. I'll welcome Brian and Andres back. Friendly reminder, folks, this webinar is being recorded, and we will send out a link to that and all of the resources in the chat to you in the coming days. We're so grateful to have such an engaged audience right now, helping us to celebrate Earth Day and all of the conservation efforts we're doing across the Americas to be bold for birds. But first up, we're going to go back to the first presentation for Brian, especially because our audience really has current events on their mind, Brian, especially at the federal US level. Just wanted to offer you another opportunity to comment on that and encourage folks to know about ABC's efforts with our partners, as well as our dedication to being bold for birds right now.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. I did see there was a number of questions related to actions by the current administration, funding cuts, and others. And so there's a lot to talk about. We probably don't have time to talk about all of it, but I will say up front that we are tracking all of it as any federal actions related to birds. Our eye is on the ball, and we are going to advocate for birds unapologetically. There is no such thing as a Republican warbler or a Democrat mallard duck. Things that they just need what they need, and we know what that is, and we're gonna go after those things for birds. But I will say there's a number of things. There's been a number of executive orders that have been issued that impact birds and habitats and public lands and energy development and a number of issues, including targeting landscapes like Alaska. Some of them do have impacts. Some of them are more bluster and really don't have much authority until there's a Solicitor General's, an opinion and or rules laid out that translate those words to action. And so the ones that are actionable, we are working with the agencies charged with implementing them. We are meeting with them currently to figure out who is implementing them and see what we can get done for birds if those are even going to come to fruition. It's also important to understand that with budget cuts and any staffing cuts that might come, employees still need to implement the executive orders. And when you're cutting staff at the same time, it's kind of a catch-22. You want these things to be done, but you're firing the same staff who might need to carry those things out. So it's kind of, it's a lot of disorganization, a lot of chaos right now. And so in this fog of war, when the dust settles, we're going to see what comes out of it and be proactive in trying to prevent the worst parts about it and protecting birds that come through. Of course, federal workforce cuts are worrisome. Thousands of people that carry out restoration of habitat and wildlife care is certainly something that we are aware of. And right now, one of the actions that you can take is to ask Congress to maintain the funding that we have right now. Increasing funding for conservation is probably not likely at the federal level, which is why ABC is also focusing on state issues right now, because there is still opportunity there. But you have the opportunity to email your congressperson to ask for fully funding the conservation agencies, which includes maintaining staff levels. There's also been a few notes on redefining the definition of harm under the Endangered Species Act and reviewing NEPA, that's the National Environmental Protection Act, as well. Some of these things are, in our opinion, might be illegal, and we are commenting on those things now. And as I had mentioned in our presentation, we will judge all of those things as they come. If they are illegal, we will look at legal strategies. If they're not, we're going to be advocates for it. But I'll also end this by saying that we don't get to choose the cards we are dealt. We have to get conservation done every year, regardless of who has their hands on the levers of power. And so I'll just say we have to work with any hand we're dealt, and we are going to be working for birds around the clock. So do pay attention to ABC alerts. We will let you know when there is an opportunity to make a difference.
Thanks so much, Brian. As Ken Kaufman says on a bird, the right wing and left wing work together to lift up the center, and American Bird Conservancy is right there at the center. We're going to be dedicated and committed to seeing this through because birds need us. So again, thank you, Brian, for that insight. And I can't reiterate enough, especially as the communications director, please connect with us. Email, we're on social media, we have action alerts. We definitely want you to join the flock as we carry on this conservation advocacy and efforts. It's a little hard to transition topics from that, but again, another classic line is that birds don't observe political boundaries. So again, we're going to transition a little bit further south to Latin America and kick it over to Andres, just as Brian was talking about working with whoever we need to advance those advocacy efforts. We have some questions about multinational lending banks and those other partners that you're helping ABC be bold for birds with by partnering. So could you share a little bit more about just who those stakeholders are and who those new audiences that could help you and BirdsPlus help birds?
Absolutely. Thank you, Jordan. And yeah, BirdsPlus is ABC's response to that huge financial gap that we have in conservation. The funding available is not enough, and we know that we need to be partnering with the private sector. One group we're working with are impact investors, those investors who are putting their money into projects that have different returns, from financial returns to environmental and social returns. And this is a group that's committed to do the right things. We at ABC want to facilitate those investments. One of our solutions is our BirdsPlus revolving fund, which offers an option to our donors to support those projects that are looking for investments. So what we do is we use philanthropic funding to strengthen those projects that are looking for investors. Sometimes they just need to develop a business model or develop a pitch deck that they can present to an investor. So that's what we facilitate. That's why it's so catalytic, the funding that we offer through our BirdsPlus revolving fund. That's one group. Another group we are exploring to engage is we're exploring to engage with development banks. So if anyone here is connected to development banks and would like to chat about that, we welcome those conversations. But we know that they channel a lot of resources every year to agriculture and ranching in Latin America. So if we can influence the work that they do, the investments that they make, we can have a huge impact on bird habitat. So that's just a little bit of what we do. The other exciting thing, Jordan, is just gonna take 2 more seconds, is we want to demonstrate that our projects have not just a financial return for those that are an investment opportunity, but also that have that bird return. So we're developing our BirdsPlus index, which is the way we're gonna be monitoring our return on birds, because birds can tell us a lot about what's going on. So maybe that's a whole topic for another webinar, but it's a really exciting thing we're developing. So keep an eye out for the BirdsPlus index.
Yeah, and again, keep an eye out for those magazines too. I can't wait to have folks read more and learn more about BirdsPlus for sure. I want to kick it over to Amy though too. Amy, you mentioned Alliance for Zero Extinction, which I know is a big topic. Are there any other points about that incredible program that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. I'd be happy to. So we help manage the Alliance for Zero Extinction, which I said is a consortium of over 125 organizations, and our president, Mike Parr, is also the president of AZE. Within AZE, ABC helps to manage the AZE Initiative Fund, which provides financial resources for creating or expanding protected areas at AZE sites. We also lead a 4-year project to improve management at 20 AZE sites throughout Chile, Colombia, and Dominican Republic. And we promote the inclusion of AZE in policies at banks and businesses. For example, policies to avoid developing projects at AZE sites, since losing these sites is very likely to lead to species extinctions.
Thanks, Amy. Again, folks, we're covering the whole spectrum of the Americas here as we're bold for birds at American Bird Conservancy, taking any action we can to help advance those conservation efforts that are so needed right now. And while we have talked about some pretty concerning or dire situations, I want to bring it back to Brian to help give us some hope. What are some exciting or hopeful things that you're looking forward to with policy priorities or other projects for 2025?
Yes, thank you. I am off mute. Thanks, Jordan. Well, there are a number of things to be hopeful for. We are going to see the reintroduction of the Migratory Bird Protection Act. It has bipartisan support. There's no way yet to really take action on that bill yet because it has yet to be introduced, but we are talking with the bill's sponsors, and there are multiple, as I mentioned in my chat, there are multiple funding reauthorizations that are coming up that have enjoyed bipartisan support. The Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, the Neotropical Migratory Bird Conservation Act, combined, it's tens of millions of dollars that goes on the ground. It's been supported on either side of the aisle. It's up for reauthorization, and as I said before, it's money that follows birds where they fly. So it invests in habitat here in the United States and follows them on their mostly southern journeys. And we think that there is strong opportunity that those programs will be refunded. But again, Congress needs to hear from their constituents. So ABC on the back end is working really hard to do some education, but of course they are beholden to their voters. And so we will need constituents to take action. And again, we will let you know when the right time it is to take action, and we'll make it as easy as possible. You just got to click a button, type in your address and your name. It'll automatically go to your target representative and senator.
So again, folks, there's hope because of you. You participating in American Bird Conservancy efforts and joining our flock is the hope that we need right now. And I really hope you join us. But we're going to kick it over to Andrés to give us some hope in the Latin American region. Andrés, what are you excited about? Are there any new spices or other things that might be coming up to keep an eye out for?
Absolutely. I'm excited about all the different types of bird-friendly projects that we are finding. We're constantly looking for new projects. My colleagues in the Migratory Birds Habitats in Latin America and the Caribbean program, Elliot Miller and Corey Martinetti, are constantly looking for new projects. We're looking for new partners. And of course, we're looking for funding, right? Because we need funding to do conservation. So I'm excited about the different projects we're finding. One of them, I didn't have the time to mention it, but it's this company called Doselva, and they sell ginger and turmeric to companies that we can find in Whole Foods, Sprouts, Safeway, Giant. So whenever you go to the spices section, look for ginger and turmeric, and maybe you will find those spices that come from Nicaragua. Those come from our projects, ABC projects. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I can't wait for folks to go tell their neighbors and friends about the connection between rubber and birds, let alone all of the new products yet to come in 2025. So stay tuned. But Amy, do you have anything to add for 2025?
Well, this is an exciting year, and while there may be challenges, I feel like we're up to the task, we're up to the challenge, we're up to continuing to be bold for birds. You know, if there's one thing I'd ask people to remember from this webinar, it's the breadth of actions that we're taking across the hemisphere to be bold for birds and to conserve birds across the Americas.
I think that's a great note to end on, unfortunately. Thank you so much, Amy, for raising that, because again, everyone, you can be bold for birds any time of day, any day of the year, starting right now. Thank you so much to our presenters. We really appreciate you taking the time to share all of your important work with us. And thank you to the audience. Friendly reminder, registrants, that you will be receiving a link to the recording via email in just a few days, along with links to all those resources. And the conservation efforts that you've heard about today are only possible thanks to members and supporters like you who care about birds and believe in ABC's mission to conserve them. Together, we can do even more to save wild birds and the habitats they need to thrive. Will you make an Earth Day gift right now to make a difference for wild birds across the Americas? Remember, we'll plant a tree for birds for every $20 that you give, and gifts of $100 or more will contribute to the conservation of an entire acre of bird habitat. And your gift will be matched dollar for dollar, up to $100,000, thanks to a generous ABC supporter. You can make your tax-deductible gift right now at abcbirds.org/gift by scanning the code on your screen with your phone or via the secure online donation form that you'll be redirected to after our webinar ends today. Thank you so much for caring about birds, sharing Earth Day with us live, sharing American Bird Conservancy's mission to conserve birds and their habitats. And as always, good birding.